everybody. So some of you might know me already if you've entered the awards. My name is Alma and I'm a consultant for the GC&DC. And I'll answer some of your questions today with my colleague Benita.
Hi everyone, I am a consultant with the GC&DC as well. And we have Sally Costen as well, who is our guest here today.
Hi, hello everyone.
So we'll talk to Sally a bit later on in our Q&A. Yeah.
Okay, so what we will cover today. Here is a brief outline of our webinar. Firstly, we will cover the competition format and essentials for entering. So this is key dates, entries and judging. We will then be catching up with Sally Costen. So Sally is a multiple award winner and we are excited to talk to her about her experiences and entering the GC&DC competition. And then finally, your amazing questions. There have been some great ones, so please do stay tuned as we will go through as many of them as we can. And if we don't have time, we'll be posting them at the end of the webinar as well.
So some key dates for your diaries. The 31st of January is our entry deadline. It closes at midnight, so please do submit earlier if possible. Just in case your computer crashes or anything like that, just bear that in mind, and we will not be on call at midnight as well on that Sunday. So yeah, top tip, enter at least a week in advance, I would say, for avoiding disappointment there. 8th to the 12th of March is our posting week. We will only request some pieces and we'll cover that later. So yeah, but just make sure that you have these dates in your diary, just so that you know that if an entry, if your 3D piece needs to be in the second round of judging, then we need your piece in for that time. And then the 26th of April is our awards evening, and more details will be coming soon. So, but just pencil that in for now. And should I say a bit about judging as well, Benita? Yeah, so a bit about the judging. The preliminary judging will take place online this year due to social distancing and keeping everybody safe. So, and also just be sure we have some new entrants joining us today. All entries are judged anonymously, so no name or anything is on in the judging process. Then in-person judging will be taking place as well, with just some select entries in the 3D section. So we will contact you individually if you need to submit your pieces by post. And the dates, as I said earlier, was the 8th to the 12th of March. Yeah, so in terms of the entries that you have to fill in the form, it's online only, and just make sure that you download our handy checklist for guidelines and tips, because these are very useful.
The link is in the chat if you would like to download them right away. There's two different ones, one for 2D and one for 3D.
So hello, Sally. So Sally can maybe start by introducing herself. And as Benita mentioned quickly earlier, she has won awards in the competition before. So over to you, Sally. Maybe just tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
Absolutely. I'm a graphic designer and jeweler, and a lot of my work reflects my graphics background, I think. I first entered in 2018, I believe. I wouldn't have ordinarily have gone for it, and I'll go into a few more details as to why. But essentially, I've been building up a business, a jewellery business, for about 3 years and launched it fully last year. Pretty well to the day, actually, a year ago.
Oh, congrats.
So, it's all been rather exciting stuff, and my enthusiasm for the awards may come across, depending on if you've also got any questions for me, then please pop them in.
Yeah. So you entered, as you said, in the competition in 2018 for the first time. What made you enter?
I went to the Goldsmiths Fair for the first time. I was actually part-time studying jewellery design, and we were encouraged to go and look at the professionals. So I went there, and there was a gentleman called Jos Skeets, who at the time was the chairman of the council.
Mm-hmm.
And he was manning the table for encouraging entrants. I knew of EC1, he's wonderful, and Alison's wonderful independent jewellery store. And he told me about it. And a lot of the questions that I think many of you may have if you're new to the awards, I asked him. So he told me to go for it. So I did.
And you did, yeah. And you won an award.
I did. I went in for 2D. There it is. My little
Charm bracelet,
I called it. Yeah, it was a great brief, and I wasn't 100% confident with 3D, to be perfectly honest, and just went for it. It was the only piece I submitted, and much to my joy and surprise, I got a silver. So that was it. I was pretty addicted from there on in.
Yeah, because then we saw you again in 2019.
I couldn't keep me away. So I popped up again in 2019. I think I submitted 2 pieces, one 2D, one 3D, which is a really important thing to remember. There are some areas you can't overlap in the awards, but if you've got great ideas across a few briefs, then do them.
Yeah.
So 2019, I won 2 awards, and this year, a bit late in the day with this one, wasn't going to enter it, and then decided to do it.
Good.
Yeah, good. I'm very pleased as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, popped in another piece. So I have been thrilled and surprised each time I've won. They don't know it's my work. They don't know any of the designers who submit, and the diversity of the briefs will automatically, there will be some designers that they suit better than others, but they're so broad. I think most anybody will find something that really gets them interested and gets them going.
Yeah, because obviously, yeah, you've entered in the 2D section, and those briefs change every year. So the metal design section this year is different to the one you entered in 2019, for example.
Yeah, and they're challenging, but that's their job. You know, that they make you think. It's not make something pretty. You know, you've got to really apply yourself to it, which I think is a total positive. We've all got great ideas, and it's great to see how people interpret the briefs.
Yeah, well, that leads me on to a question. So would there be something that you wanted to have known before entering first time? So you asked Joss all the questions you might have had, but was there something that you wished you knew before entering back in 2018 as a new entrant?
Probably that I could. You know, I've mentioned my basis is not as I haven't gone through the traditional route to designing and making jewellery. It's quite unorthodox the way I've come about it. And I did have the impression, and there may be some people out there who think this too, that it really was for the ultimate masters in the jewellery profession, the silversmithing world. So to be honest, I was a little bit nervous of not just submitting award-winning work, but meeting any expectations. And that you have a bit of a battle with yourself on that. So for me, it's the accessibility. Joss told me, well, of course you can, go for it.
Yeah.
But
and that
made me nervous of that.
Yes, I agree. Just go for it. It's definitely
Let's go for that.
For anybody who's new. And then lastly, is there any tips for entrants that you would give as an award winner now? You could,
Oh,
you could
keep
give
saying
your...
it, Alma, keep saying it. I would suggest that if you get caught, if you're inspired by one of the briefs, concentrate on the brief and designing. Put aside its competition. I know it's a very easy thing to say and a difficult thing to do, but you'll be doing it and putting your best work and heart and soul into it. You don't need the added pressure of thinking, competition, who am I going to be up against? They're going to be better than me. And we all have our doubts. So if you can, just concentrate on the fact you've got a fabulous brief in front of you and meet it. Then put it in for the competition. That's my tip.
Oh, I love that. It's a great tip. Well, thank you so much, Sally. I think we have to go on to our questions, but you're still here for, if anybody has any questions for Sally, put it in the Q&A section as well. And yeah,
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
So over to the questions now from our community, and we've had some great questions, so I am just sharing with everybody now. So we've taken all your questions and we've tried to categorize them so we can make this as efficient and useful for you as possible. And as you can see on the left, these are the different categories. So who can enter, questions on the briefs, digital submissions, sending in your work, judging, and the awards ceremony. We've had questions from newbies and existing entrants, so no question is wrong as such. So please do keep popping them into the Q&A and we will add them to this board for you at a later date. So
yeah, so I'll ask the first question to you, Benita. Is the entry of the competition free?
Yes, 100% free. There is no fee to enter the competition. There are some costs that may be associated with the competition though, which is handy for you to know. So if we do write to you and ask you to post in your piece, because the judges would like to see it in person, there will be a postage fee for you. And if you would like your piece then posted back, there will be a fee there too. And that is £15 for 2D entries and £35 for 3D entries for posting back. If your entry is again asked, we request to see it in person. If it's valued above £1,000, then we highly recommend that you seek insurance for the period which we are holding your piece. So again, just for entries over £1,000 that are requested to be sent in. Otherwise, 100% free. And then, Alma, one for you. Is this competition open to all jewellery designers around the world or only for the UK local designers?
Yeah, so the competition is open for any person who's based in the UK, and the piece or design has to be made in the last 12 months. I would say, however, that an example is a student who is maybe back home now, who's not from the UK. If they have made the piece in this year while studying, for example, they can enter their piece because it's made in the UK and they were based in the UK this year. But other than that, yes, you have to be in the UK, based in the UK. Are there any requirements for the candidates to be qualified to enter the competition?
No, you need no qualifications. So all you need is your design and craftsmanship skills and some confidence to enter. We have entrants who have been completely new to jewellery design and craftsmanship and who hold 0 qualifications or certificates. So yes, and this is important to note, it's judged completely anonymously. So the entry form doesn't even ask you for your qualifications because the judges will never see it. Okay, so moving on. Right, questions?
Yeah. So the competition briefs do not give limits on photo images and number of words and appears to require more than entry portal requirements. In all, I find it very confusing, the difference between the two.
So thank you very much for this question. This is important feedback for myself and Alma as well. So we are going to update the application form so it says max word limit on the entry form. We will also now update every brief and say what the max word limit is in terms of what you have to submit by way of the placeholders on the entry form. It is completely all the same across the competition because this is determined by the entry form. Just so you know, the images as well, it's a maximum of 2 images for 2D, minimum of 2 images submission and a maximum of 4.
Yeah.
And Alma, one for the 2D entrance. If I don't work in jewellery production and a brief has asked me to keep in mind weight and the cost of precious metals and stones used in design, is there a way to get this information, especially when it comes to metals?
Yeah, so this is also a very good question and totally understandable. If you're not a jeweler by trade, that would be a very hard question to answer. But so one thing that we suggest on that front is contact a bullion dealer or a stone dealer, for example, as well, if there's stone requirements in the brief. They're probably very happy to help you. And one tip is on the Cookstone website, for example, you can go on to the product page. So for example, the sheet, gold sheet metal or wire, and you can add in the length that you think you need and it will tell you how much that would weigh. So you can have a play around on the Cookstone website and just see. So that is probably a good place to start. And also obviously reaching out to other dealers as well and getting to know the trade. That's a good way of doing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have one other one about the 2D design briefs, specifically for the Champagne Gosset. If we have actually made the piece in 3D, can we submit photographs of the finished 3D piece, or would you just like photographs of designs and technical drawings? I guess that kind of is for any 2D piece, right? So do we have an answer for that, Benita?
Yes. So yeah, excellent question again, and very interesting one as well. I think the important part of this question is that it is a 2D design brief. So you must approach it like you are being approached by a client to give you basically a brief that they just want ideas, like a very great pitch for your ideas for. In fact, we had an excellent webinar this summer with Brown and Newith, Pamela Statham and Zoe Harding, who are both experienced jewellery designers, and they gave an excellent talk about how to present your 2D designs. And something that turned out to be like the key takeaway for everybody was that you are pitching to a client. So make your presentation in an appropriate form for a client. And as such, a client doesn't want to see the finished piece. They want to be able to see your vision for it. So include your beautiful context, your structural diagrams, information about your stones, your concept, etc. As a pitch. You say you have a finished 3D piece. So that piece, that can be entered in the 3D craft section as a separate entry. And if it was beautifully polished, you can enter it in polishing. If it's been enameled, enameling section, engraving, etc., etc. So 3D craft section is for that 3D piece that you have. It sounds like you've already made it. So yeah, you've got 2 entries there. All right, so we're moving on to follow the arrow. Digital submissions. Alma, good one for you. Will submission be the same as always, but in masks?
So we've kind of covered it a bit already, but submissions are different this year because it will start with preliminary judging online. And then obviously if you have a 3D piece you're entering and you've been selected to send in your piece, there is also going to be an option for you to come and deliver it in person at the center, but we will have allocated slots and you will have to be wearing a mask for that for hand-in days, which is the 8th to the 12th of March. Then, if a collection of pieces are submitted as one entry, can more than the 4 images be uploaded in additional ways? So I guess, yeah, someone's asking if they could submit more than 4 images on their application forms in another way.
So yes, if it's a collection of pieces, you can submit, or you can arrange in one photograph all the pieces from your collection. However, it's important to note that we only accept a maximum of 4 photographs or 4 uploads for each entry. And I'm afraid you cannot submit more than 4. If you are, I don't think you have to be very tech savvy, but if you know how to do it, because we are allowing you to submit in various file formats, such as JPEG, PDF, doc, you can put multiple images onto one page, which counts as one upload. So if you know how to do this, that's absolutely fine. But please ensure that, I know sometimes you can try and squeeze millions of photographs on it and it's not crystal clear, and it can be very confusing for judges. So make sure it is crisp, not blurry, and very visually easy to see. So on to the next question. What is our ideal format for submissions?
Yeah, so again, that kind of mentioned, on the application form, we've put lots of different formats to make it easier for everybody. So you can do a Word document, you can do JPEG, PDF, etc. In terms of ideal file format, I would suggest JPEG or PDF is the best. But again, whatever is easiest for you as an entrant, please just do that. And yeah.
Oh, photography. This has been a hot question because everything is digital. So do all pieces have to be photographed on a white background? Can the images have been taken by professional photographers, like in an artistic way, or to demonstrate different aspects of the work? Over to you.
So again, we mentioned our handy checklist. Please download these. They are available in the chat. They'll give you some tips and advice on what we expect, and also just how you can set it up at home, because not everybody can have access to professional photography. I will say that in terms of background, it doesn't have to be the white background, but just simple is better, because the importance in these photographs is just to show the judges what it is that you've submitted. So the clearer, the better. Just think about that. This is not about, is it a beautifully shot piece? Does it just portray and show what it is that I'm submitting clearly? And you have 4 images to do that. And so in terms of the other question on that post is, of course, they can be taken professionally. And if you wanted one of the images to be a bit more artistic, definitely do that. And also demonstrating in one aspect of the work is fine. It might be a benefit for you as well to just zoom in on a specific detail if it's an engraving or a stone setting that you wanted. So definitely do that. And that's why we've done the 4 images for that. And also another question on photography is everything being entered digitally? Photos don't fully describe the detail, weight, and inside finishes on pieces. So will there be a chance to post or bring pieces in to be seen and touched?
Very good question. Again, because this year the preliminary judging is being done online to keep everybody safe, unfortunately, we are not going to be receiving all the entries. Usually year on year, about 600 entries come into the Goldsmith Centre, which unfortunately isn't going to happen this year. So because things are being being uploaded digitally, we do appreciate that details, weights, etc., finishing can sometimes be lost. That's why we encourage you to maximize how you use your photograph. So please don't do the same shot. If you can take a detailed image of a part of your piece, then the judges can extrapolate and understand, okay, maybe this is the quality of the work across it. We also want to let you know that judges, if something feels unclear or they just want to see it in person, they will request for you to post it in on that week, 8th to the 12th of March. But also note, please make use of your entry form, because we've got these placeholders that request you for any technical info or anything on your process. So if there is something you want to say in there, like please look inside, or this is how I've created the pieces, the tools I've used, this is the type of technique I've used, that's the place to write it, so that when the judges are looking at your piece, they can also read a bit about your technique and process as well. That was a really good question. Okay, on to sending in your work only if requested. So Alma, if there is a piece you'd like to enter that has already gone to a collector or a private collection or a client, can one enter it?
Yes, you can. But what I would say, obviously, in the first round, we need photographs. So if you have photographs, that's great. But if we need it, you will have to ask your collector or client to have your piece back for judging in person. What I would say is contact your collector or client. We've had that in the past where entrants have submitted work that is already owned by someone, and we find that collectors or your client is more than happy to give the piece, lend the piece back to you, because if it has a chance of winning an award, I mean, who wouldn't want an award-winning piece in their collection? So ask them and just make a note of the dates that we need it by. Between 8th and 12th of March, we need it posted in if we want it, if we need it for the judging. And we will post back work on the 29th and 30th of April. So you can, ask your client. And I would, and that kind of leads on to the next question here as well. If the piece is in another exhibition, again, that doesn't, it could be in any exhibition, but we will need it if it is selected for the second round of judging between the 8th and 12th of March to the 30th of April.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I'm seeing everybody's chat, so we will try to get to all of your questions. So, but great, so good to see everybody on here. In terms of the judging, Benita.
Yes.
Will any award decisions be made without seeing the pieces in person?
For the 2D design entries, this will be done digitally. So for 2D design entries only. For 3D, no. All decisions will be made seeing the piece in person. And that's when we will request, we'll write to you individually to request which pieces or what we would like you to post in, please.
And last on that, what is the specific scoring rubric?
Okay, this is an excellent question, and part of our mission to demystify how this all works. So there are over 100 industry experts which are selected from across the industry every year by trustees and council members for judging. And each category has a minimum of 3 judges assigned to it. They come armed with the brief criteria, the rules and regulations and guidelines, and are there to assess each piece according to the industry benchmark standards. So how it works in the judging session is that each judge is individually encouraged and does go around and inspect each piece in person. Then they all come together and they discuss, they debate, sometimes argue. It can be very intense because each piece is actually given a high level of scrutiny and time. And once they've pulled their thoughts together, they are at their discretion allowed to award gold, silver, or bronze. Now, for the gold, silver, and bronze award, they do not have to give out a gold, silver, or bronze, which is very important to know. So if, for example, in one year, there's an array of astounding pieces that meet all the criteria of excellence and meet the benchmark standards, exceed them, and they find that there are 2 pieces that are worthy of a gold, they will award 2 golds. Same applies for silver or bronze, however many they feel like they can hand out. The opposite applies as well. If they feel that something hasn't reached that benchmark standards, they are not obliged to give out a gold, silver, or a bronze. And this is really important because then it maintains a certain standard across the competition of excellence. So yeah, excellent question. Thank you for asking that. Moving on swiftly. Okay. What are the plans for the award ceremony? Hoping I get that far.
Yeah, I hope you all get that far. In terms of the awards ceremony, we are still wanting to keep that secret for now, but please pencil in the 26th of April in your diaries, because you're all invited this year, and that's all I'll say for now. But, yeah. So I'll actually just move on quickly to the next one. Will there be an exhibition following the ceremony?
So every year there is a beautiful awards exhibition held at the Goldsmiths Hall immediately following the awards ceremony. And usually this is all the award winners plus entries that the judges found that they highly recommend. And they're showcased in the lovely cabinets in the Goldsmiths Hall. And it's open to the public. You can bring your family, your friends, entrants can come even if you've won an award or not. However, sorry, but this year, unfortunately, because of social distancing, we cannot do this exhibition, but bear that in mind for following years when things open up. Last year, following the Goldsmiths Hall exhibition, we did a traveling exhibition to the Birmingham Assay Office, and they have an incredible, beautiful new forum? No, is that the right word? Foyer, sorry. A beautiful foyer with these display cabinets where we had the award-winning pieces up for, I think it was a few weeks, but because again of COVID, that got shut down quite quickly. But this year we are in talks with Birmingham to have a comeback and have the exhibition pieces in their cabinets again. So something to look forward to. Okie dokie, we're moving on to, I suppose, a moment. Right, more questions.
Yeah.
Busy.
So we do have some time for some of your questions. So someone's here asked, are you allowed to enter both categories? And I'm assuming that means 2D and 3D. And do you want to answer that, Benita, while I read through some of the other ones?
It cut out slightly. Can you repeat that?
Oh, sorry. So are you allowed to enter both categories? And I'm assuming that means, are you allowed to enter both 2D and 3D?
Oh, yes. So you can enter as many times as you like the competition. So in terms of entering, you can enter one entry in 2D. You can enter a separate entry into 3D. It's important to note that your entry under 2D can only be entered into one of the 2D entry categories because the briefs are specific to you. So if it's a brief on land erosion, for example, you can't enter it in something that's designing for characters. Under 3D, but you can of course enter as many briefs as you like, as many times as you like. Under 3D, the design section is the same. Again, the briefs are specific, and so you can only enter your entry into one of the 3D design categories. That same entry can be entered into multiple 3D craft sections. And this is a great way, actually. So if I had made a beautiful silver vase and I entered it under the silversmith section under 3D design, I can then enter it under multiple 3D craft categories. And that's because we want to acknowledge the different aspects of the craftsmanship that is involved in making this beautiful silver vase. So you could enter it under polishing, for example. If it has chased elements, you can also enter it under chasing, engraving, enameling, etc. If you've used, I don't know, laser technology, enter it under laser. So then it will be considered under those multiple 3D categories. If, for example, your polisher polished your beautiful silver vase, you can encourage them to enter your piece under the 3D craft category. And this is a great way of getting a lot of craftspeople involved who don't necessarily make their own pieces, but actually contribute to a lot of your work. So setters, mounters, etc. And I really encourage everybody to do that, because these are the craftsmen who sometimes don't often get their moment in the spotlight, but definitely deserve it. So if you've got your pieces set or polished or engraved, do check in with them and encourage them to enter your piece into the competition.
Definitely. We also have one which I think we kind of covered already, but I'll just make sure. So Mark here has asked, if you have already made a piece and you find that it is suitable for a 2D brief, can you render it for the 2D and submit it separately for a 3D? And yes, you can. Like Benita mentioned about someone actually making the physical piece, but make sure that it is like a render, like design it as if it hasn't been made already, is I guess the answer to that. Someone said
differences between the competition brief and the entry forms. So yes, I think this sounds like it's from a new first-time entrant. So the competition briefs are on our website. I'm going to post the link again in the chat at the end of this webinar. But the briefs are essentially like a client coming to you and saying, Alma, I would like to have a wedding ring designed on the theme of the Star Wars spaceship. That's the brief. And so that's what you will be working to. So it's very important that you follow the brief, see what they're asking, and ensure you tick all the boxes there. I mean, Sally, that's something that I guess you have great experience with in following the 2D design briefs to a T.
Certainly. Yeah, just stick to it. You are judged on answering the brief as much as the quality of your work, particularly in 2D, as you would expect. So go for it, just do it. It's great fun.
Yeah. And then you put it in the entry form, which is the second part of the question. So the entry form is just the online application form by which you submit images of the pieces.
Yeah, we also have some questions in the chat, so I might be going to quickly go through that as well. Are photos of essay marks needed for preliminary judging? No, is the quick answer to that. Essay marks, as in, they can. So all judging is anonymous, but a piece which has hallmarking is obviously allowed, but you don't need to have that zoomed in on a photo or to show that it's silver or gold, for example. We trust that if you say it's silver, it's silver. I hope that answers your question, Paul.
Peter Roberts, are there 2 images, 2 pages, or separate? And can these be added to the 2 pages? Okay, so I understand where, Peter, you're going with this. I think the upload is 1 page. So if you classify 1 JPEG is usually 1 page, PDF 1 page. I think we will clarify this more, as opposed to uploading multiple documents of say 20, 30, 40 pages each. And the simple reason for this is judging is time bound. As you can imagine, if we did have no limit on this, our judges would be full-time employed for the GC&DC, and there would be a lot of content for them to work through. So on this occasion, this year, we say 4 pages equals 4 uploads.
And Andrew has asked, I think I also read somewhere you could submit videos. Is there a max file size? Is it just for 3D? So there is no video. There was a discussion about this, but there is just, minimum to maximum 4 images of your 3D piece. And just try your best to show all sides and details, what you think is really important for the judges to see. And like Benita has also mentioned about putting it into the information boxes as well, about processes, material, make it really clear, as if you were in the room to describe it yourself, put that in the box.
Sally, just some compliments for you. Everybody's saying that your story is quite inspiring from Judith.
Thank you.
Lots of thank yous.
I am available for hire.
And then we've got one here. So on the entry form, a limit of 150 words is stated. And is this considered to be one page? So 150 words, we have the placeholders on the entry form for you to type this in. So if you don't want to waste precious image upload space, then I would suggest to put it in the placeholders on the entry form. We've made a handy video on the application form. So it's Alma who is literally scrolling through the application form and going through each section to talk you and walk you through how to fill it in. So do check that out so you know what to expect. And you can literally go onto the application form and beep, 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 touch all the buttons, figure it out, and then you can proceed with the entry, because it's a good idea to get familiar with that before you commence.
Yeah. Maria, yeah, we had your question up about a piece being mixed metals and which category would be the best one. We will put this in. We will answer all the questions that we haven't answered today on our website, but and it's hard to kind of that's a very specific question for a specific piece. But what I would say is, if it's mixed metals, whatever is the most metal in the piece. So let's say it's a silver ring with gold detailing. If it's mostly silver, put it in the silver category. If it's mostly gold, put it in the gold category. I hope that answers your questions there. I think we have a few more. So do 2D entries need a description of how they will be made? Do you want to answer that one, Benita?
Yeah, so depends what the brief is asking you, really. For example, the designing for character brief, which is excellent, it's actually asking you to think a bit outside the box, and it's not necessarily asking you to break down the process. I think it's almost meant to be quite conceptual. So the judges in that category don't really want to know how it will be made, but they just want you to push your imagination to its bounds. And I think that's quite evident in the brief, because they are asking you to design for fantastical characters and caricatures. So it could be Batman, I don't know, Yoda, anybody. But I think in that case, no. If the brief has specified, for example, manufacturing is important, then yes, I think you must stay in the concept. I think there is a section on the placeholder on the application form, and so it is a good idea to pop that in there. You can even annotate your diagram if you want to show components pulling out from the main image, which will be really helpful for the judges.
Yeah.
There's one here. If you submitted a piece in the past and it has been remade in the last 12 months, can it be submitted again? I think this is one that we might need to answer on our sheet. Yeah. Because I think I would say if it is a new piece, a different one, I don't know if it's funny.
Yeah, so it's a really good question. If it's made, because that is what we state, if it's made in the last 12 months, then it qualifies. What I would say is, if it's an exact identical piece and you've won before, judges will say, well, this is won before. If you've perfected it and you didn't win anything, but you've maybe added a detail, or you've streamlined something, or something's cleaner and the process is different, definitely enter it again. And then we have one here. In the 4 images, can we add the images of the process of making, or only show the image of the works? So if the process shows that it's all handmade, maybe, but the purpose of the images is because it has to be judged online this year. So what I would say is, use the images to show the judges what the piece is probably.
We have another, again, I'm a big fan of the entry form. We have a placeholder on the entry form that says processes and techniques used. So go wild on that, and do tell us about your process, because that is the exciting and interesting part. So yeah, please don't waste your images if you do want to use them for the judging.
Yeah, and I think we've gone through all of your questions. If there's any more, just send them through and we will add them on to the list of ones that we will post next week. Vicky has also asked, will there be an exhibition of the long list of pieces? And we kind of did mention that through the talk, so hopefully you feel that that was answered, Vicky. Anything else, please let us know. I think that's it.
Yeah. If you need any further help or guidance, we will be posting this webinar on our website on YouTube. And that Miro board with all the post-its, we'll be adding all your questions that we answered today as well on that board alongside our answers as well. We ask, before you email us at the address here, info@craftanddesignCouncil.org.uk, we ask, please visit our frequently asked questions on the GC&DC website. That you may have answered your question there. We may have answered your question there already. Yeah. And importantly, the next Q&A is on the 11th of January next year. So of course, as you get further down your design or creation, you may have more questions. So please do jot that down in your diary and join us again.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Sally, for joining us. We have a comment here, very helpful to have Sally on today as well. So, and it's really good to have you on today. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a great holiday.
Bye.
Good luck, and we cannot wait to see all of your entries.